Welcome again to Reddit's Darkest Corner. I let my son use the copier to print a picture of his face. I regret everything. I think we've all put our faces in copiers as kids. It was a fun thing to do, especially when we didn't have modern luxuries like iPads or YouTube. So yesterday afternoon, when my kid was bored as heck, I decided to give it a try with him. Yeah, it was a waste of ink, but honestly, it was worth it if it pried my kid away from Minecraft speedruns and Hot Wheels unboxing videos. I switched it to black and white ink only and started the fun. We copied his hands a few times. He laughed with glee. "Do your face now," I told him. He scrunched his lips up like an exaggerated duck face and stuck his face against the glass. I lowered the lid on his head, which was very light. "Close your eyes, the light's bright," I told him as the band of white light began sliding across the glass, scanning his face. Then came the ch-ch of the page printing. But when he grabbed the page, my heart sank. In the picture, his eyes were open. He wasn't doing the duck face either. "Did you open your eyes?" I asked him. He shook his head. I stared down at the picture. His face pressed up against the glass, his cheeks and forehead pushed flat. In the high contrast, his medium brown eyes looked pure black. "Again, again," Matthew chanted, lifting the lid and sticking his head in. I hesitated. Then I lowered the lid and pressed copy. Ch-ch-ch. The paper came out, inch by inch. I saw Matthew's ear, then his cheek, his eye, wide open, and then his mouth. His mouth stretched out into a gaping O, as if he were screaming. I grabbed Matthew and pulled him back. The lid clattered shut. "But it's not done," he protested. Asterisk, ch-ch-ch, asterisk. The rest of the page came out, although I could see the exact moment I'd pulled Matthew away. There was a line 3/4 of the way across his face, cutting off half his right eye and cheek, turning into a mess of warped gray lines. "Does this scare you?" I asked. "No." "I think we should play with something else for a while," I said. "But I want to do this." I was finally able to pull him away from it and give him something else to do. But even after he was in bed that night, something disturbed me. While the copies were being made, I could see his face under the lid. The second time, I'd stared at his face the entire time to make sure he didn't open his eyes. He didn't. So why did the picture show his eyes open? I told my husband about the whole thing after Matthew was asleep. "Hey, I remember doing that when I was a kid," Peter laughed. "I remember doing my butt too. I got in a lot of trouble for that. But I swear he didn't open his eyes." He probably did for just a second. But if he'd only opened his eyes for a second. The scanner moved linearly, printing as it copied. If he'd opened his eyes just for a second, I'd expect to see one eye open and one eye closed, or even just half an eye open. When I'd pulled his head away, the rest of his head didn't copy. I explained this all to him, but he was unperturbed. "Let me try it," he said. "What?" "Might just be a glitch or something." Peter walked over to the printer and turned it on, lifted the lid and stuck his face in. The scanner light hummed to life, sliding across the glass. Asterisk, ch-ch, asterisk. The page began to print. And then it happened. I noticed the page first. My husband's eye on the page, wide with fear. The corner of his mouth twisting down. And then he was pulled into the printer. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like something under the glass, next to the blinding strip of light, grabbed him by the head and yanked him through. I heard glass shatter. It happened so fast. By the time I lunged for him, only his feet were poking out. Then the lid clattered shut and he was gone. "Peter!" I screamed. "Peter!" Ch-ch-ch. The rest of the page printed out. Peter's face, his final image, printed on the page. The left side of this face, perfectly clear, eye wide, mouth open, abject terror. The other side of his face, a twisted mess of warped lines, fading into black. Thump, thump, thump. I put this story somewhere around when I was in middle school, I believe. It was nearing the end of summer, soon to be going back to school. My second cousin had gotten a new apartment. 2-story, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, big kitchen and big living room. At the time, it was perfect for her. Her at the time boyfriend, now husband, and her one child. She has 2 more kids now. She invited us to spend the night with her, me and my elder sibling. Mom preferred staying at home, but wanted to see the apartment still. We all loved it. Nice complex right by the school, a few bad neighbors, but meh, loved it for my cousin nonetheless. And she was happy to have it. The neighborhood kids saw us while my mom and cousin were talking, spoiling my cousin's child who was still a baby. Me and my sister talked with the kids, toys, games, where we from, etc. One older kid looked behind us to the apartment, chuckling. "Can't believe y'all moved in here. Man, I remember when that old lady..." My cousin immediately walked over, cutting the boy off, and told the kids it was time to leave. They did. We said goodbye to our mom and we went inside. It was just me, my elder sibling, my cousin, and her baby now. By then, I forgot what the boy was saying, because we started playing video games, playing with the baby, all good things. That night is when crap got started. It was quiet, eerily so. The TV was on, but it was muted. My cousin was asleep in her bed with her baby, while me and my sibling slept on the floor with some blankets and sheets. Something woke me up, and I looked around to find nothing out of place. Everyone was still asleep. So, what woke me up? I stretch out, curl on my side to go back to sleep when I hear it. Thump, thump, thump. I could feel the sound. One of my hand was touching the hardwood floor, and I could feel a bit of the vibrations due to how thin the blankets were. My sibling was awake, looking over at me. "You heard it too?" they whispered. I lowered my head to the cover to continue talking and not wake my cousin up. This is the conversation that followed in whispers. Me, "How long has it been going on?" Them, "I don't know, but it woke me up. I just didn't say anything since cousin name hasn't done anything." By then, I felt slightly nervous, anxiously looking towards the closed door. Her boyfriend wasn't here. He was gone with friends since we spent the night. So, what was making the noise? Me, "Should we wake her up?" Cousin, "Be quiet and go back to sleep." Her sudden yet sleepy voice makes me and my sibling flinch. I quickly lift my upper body up to stare at her, finding my cousin still laying down with her eyes closed. Me, "I was just thinking about going to the bathroom, but hesitated." A lie, I didn't have to go, but my child brain was curious. And I'll be damned if I was gonna lay there knowing someone was in her house without permission. Again, child brain. I was curious as hell. To this day, I still look back and want to smack my younger self over the head. My cousin told me to go to the bathroom, and my sibling looked at me nervously. They didn't want me to open the bedroom door. Who knows what's on the other side? I was younger than them, yet braver, or stupid. I walked out, pulled the door closed until it was only a crack. It was cold, not just my bare feet touching the floor. The entire apartment was cold, minus my cousin's bedroom. The bathroom was about 5 steps away, giving you the chance to look down the stairs and see the front door. I stood there for a few seconds at the top of the stairs, waiting, watching, with my hands clenched into fists. I could see moonlight coming through the small window on the front door, creating a small lit path on the floor in front of it. Everything else was dark and quiet. By then, my cousin was irritated, calling me back into the bedroom. I told her I was going to the bathroom. She told me to hurry up. I flushed the toilet to make it seem like I really did use it, turned the water on, and started back into her bedroom. As soon as the door was closed, thump, thump, thump. Now I knew what the sound was. It was like someone coming up the stairs, yet didn't come all the way up. The sound was faster, not slow like the first time I heard it. I sneaked a glance towards my cousin, who watched me as I laid back down, telling me and my sibling to go back to sleep. We did, and the next morning, our mom came to get us. My cousin at the last moment tried to get us to stay after looking over her boyfriend's work schedule. My mom kept saying no, since we had school the next day. Finally, after some back and forth, my mom asked her, "Mom, why you want them to stay so badly? Boyfriend name, isn't here? Cousin. He's working, but I miss y'all, and I want to spend more time with y'all." Mom, not buying it for one damn second. What's the real reason? Cousin, visibly anxious. Nothing, Mom, firm, cousin name. Cousin, sighs. An old lady died in there. They found her at the bottom in her nightgown. She didn't fall though. It seemed like she died going up the stairs. I heard someone died in this neighborhood. I remember seeing the ambulance when I drove by one time on my way to work, but I didn't know it was my apartment. My mom immediately shook her head, saying me and my sister weren't coming back, and neither was she. Nobody wanted to stay in that apartment. Not my aunt, not my cousin's sister, not even the boyfriend. He wanted them all to move out, but my cousin was happy to have her own apartment. He took overtime, so he wouldn't be there at the apartment long. It wasn't, but a few days later, my cousin fully moved out and into another apartment in a different neighborhood. In the later years, another family member moved into that neighborhood. I remember looking towards the apartment. It looked empty, like it has been for a while. When I asked the family member about the apartment, he laughed, saying, "Nobody want to live in there. Everyone who lived or lives here says it's haunted." I stayed silent, only nodding slowly. The noise we heard while staying with my cousin was footsteps. Always sounded near the bottom of the steps. I stopped thinking about it, but now that I'm typing this out, I wonder, was it the old lady who was haunting the apartment? Why? Is she still there? Maybe one day I'll drive through the neighborhood. Maybe things changed these last few years.